Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are back with another episode of Packet Live, the PKT Community Roundtable. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 9:05 p.m. or a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Probably
there you go.
A little bit different where you are, Caleb, but here on the west coast of California, we're just getting our day started with all of you. How you guys doing?
6 o'clock in the evening, just getting up, just getting ready to start the day, having my coffee now.
It's such a trip to think that like you've already been up for like a lot of hours.
Yep. Take the little one to the daycare at 9, so yep.
What time are they waking up?
Oh, I'm up at 7:30-ish. So
nice. My littlest one, my 3-year-old dude, he's waking up at like 8:40 now.
Oh, really?
He goes to bed at like 8 or 9, and now he's sleeping in late.
That's better than him waking up at 4 or 3 in the morning.
Waking up 20 times a day. Oh God, so brutal.
Or 20 times at night, having to get up every single couple hours.
Every 2 hours, God. Yeah. Once
That's
we moved into our new house, or moved out of our old house, he just started sleeping. Makes you wonder what was going on in that room.
Yeah, he was not able to sleep in that room. Yeah, you guys were always saying there was like some weird stuff going in that room.
It's just weird vibe in there, dude. Every time you go in there, you just get the ugh.
Yeah. Well, man, somebody died in that house.
No, actually, somebody died. It was in the backyard. It's actually kind of a crazy story. And then after this, we'll get into it. When I was moving out of that house and I was getting the carpets cleaned, the next door neighbor, he was the one that I hired to clean the carpets, and he had lived in he had been his next door neighbor. They lived there for his entire life, and he was like 40. And so he said the guy that lived next door, he went like crazy. And one day they actually found him in the backyard hanging over the hot tub. He had like hung himself. And
off the tree, that huge
tree. And dude, when I went out there was a piece of rope still there. And we had always seen the rope, and we're like, what is this? Why would they put a rope here for like a swing? Because we always thought it happened in the house. And then one time, my littlest, he said that he was looking outside. He's like, look, a Paul. And he would call skeletons Paul. And he was pointing to the hot tub. Glad we got away from that house.
Yeah, that's hectic. Super hectic. Well, it looks like it's a hectic first hectic Wednesday in months on the market. Finally got a nice crypto dump on a Wednesday. Solana was our most recent ripper. Went up and tapped. What did it tap? Tapped 205. Rejection.
Yeah, I'm gonna share the stream right now. See if we can get some folks on here.
Yeah. Let's do it. But yeah, highest level. What's cool about this little moment right here for Solana? So highest level since, what is this? Highest level since February. So yeah, that was a deep dip. Just tore the bottom out of the market, and yeah, just finally coming out of it. Everything's starting to pop back up. And what's crazy is if anybody watched, and probably didn't, as far as like listening to us for TA, but if anybody watched last week's stream and followed our technical analysis on the ETH trade, maybe put a little 5 or 10x leverage on that trade, you would have had a nice week on the Ethereum markets. ETH had a nice trade. It went up, broke right above 38. So we broke that level at 35 and just snapped up to 38. Yeah, got some nice volatility in the Ethereum market. Market cap on Packet up 50% or whatever in the last 2 weeks. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's nice to see some movement.
And yeah, and then just been corresponding with the exchanges, just prepping for the third airdrop, getting everyone sorted over there, and also had some really good conversations. Oh yeah, we should probably just talk about these conversations that we had around utility for PKT and Packet TV. We had some really good discussions, and actually Josh spent some time working up some marketing plans and some. I mean, Josh, you could probably speak to it a little bit better on what you were working on, but just putting together a little bit of trajectory on what is possible for utility with Packet. And one of the things that I was realizing that we always wanted, and it was part of our conversation, and we never got to this being clearly a milestone or something that we were focused on. But we always talked about, like, what if your TV had a wallet on it, and what if you could earn Packet on your television and then use the Packet that you earn to pay for content, and it became part of your just like content budget. That's paying for subscriptions, for streaming services, or even like using your Packet to pay for some sort of ordering service like an Amazon or something, where you can use it to buy goods and services as well. And it hasn't, in this last like 6 years that we've been working on Packet, televisions still don't clearly have a crypto wallet on them yet, right? But we're kind of getting to the point where this could become possible. You're starting to see, some, well, we saw Samsung, talk about putting like an NFT marketplace on their television. I don't know who the hell would give a crap about that, but it's at least having that conversation, like, oh, well, let's get towards, having a wallet integrated on a hardware device. But again, what are you going to use that? What's the utility? And so we started talking about, like, with FAST, free ad supporting streaming television, where you're seeing, apps like Tubi and Pluto TV offering television content for free, and then you're just watching ads, which is the same thing as like most cable subscriptions, where you have a TV guide and you switch the channels and there's commercials, right? With cable, you obviously have to pay for it. With FAST, you don't. And then if you had the ability to watch Packet TV, it has ads, and you could use your wallet to watch content without ads. So you basically could have your Packet be used to remove the ads from your television watching experience. We're just thinking that could be a very clear utility case, and in that basis, you'd have a very significant and like focused buy and sell of Packet for different reasons. But essentially, people can load their wallet up with Packet, or do staking, earn Packet, and then use the Packet for removing the ads from your watching experience, and then create a clear utility for PKT. So anyways, just an interesting conversation as we're kind of going down this path, focused on utility for the Packet network, but also, trying to put some emphasis on what are some options for utility with the Packet token as well.
Yeah, it's rad. Do we want to talk a little bit about like the idea of what you can use the token for on packet TV? Like kind of like what ideas we're toying with, or
Yeah, I mean, well, the first I just mentioned was obviously just removing the ads. I guess, watching other, we haven't really gotten, down the path of like other things that you can buy on packet TV yet, because we've really been focused on content and that whole piece of it. But, presumably, I mean, there's other goods and services that could be purchased through the app. I'm certainly compelled with that. And I was just watching a little bit about where Coinbase is going with Base, and if you have a Coinbase wallet, their non-custodial wallet on your phone, you see that they already changed the logo, and the app hasn't changed yet, but they're talking about launching this everything app. So I think there's a really interesting conversation to be had with Coinbase in particular about what Packet, is representing in the media and entertainment space. And there's really nobody else in the entire crypto verse that's doing anything at a high level in media and entertainment, So, but yeah, I haven't given a specific thought on kind of other use cases for the token. What were you thinking, Jared?
No, that's what I was thinking. Just the idea of being able to skip the ads. I think that's just like so rad. I mean, I was just watching a movie the other day, and every like I think it was like 30 minutes, there'd be 5 minutes, excuse me, 5 minutes of ads. And I was just like, man, if I could just, pay $1 to skip all these ads, I would have done it. I didn't want to get another subscription because I already got like 20. But if I could just go pay like $1 to skip all the ads, that would have been a different story,
True. Yeah, I think that it's an interesting use case. It's something that you don't really like. I guess you do think about it, but you don't think about it like every day. You don't like wake up in the morning and be like, hey, I wonder if I can like, skip some ads, with my packet balance. But again, it comes down to content, because like what you were watching and even making the decision that you would want to skip some ads meant that there was something on that app that you were watching or your kids were watching, and or you guys were watching like a movie or something.
Yeah, we were watching a movie. I mean, it's a similar thing to like YouTube, if you're watching, if you have kids and your kids watch any YouTube shows, I mean, every 2 to 3 minutes there's an ad. So it's like, if you're just over the ads, you're going to go pay $10 a month to have no ads.
Yeah.
Or you're just going to be
And
in
it's pretty clear with like CPMs, because like it's $7 per 1,000 views. So you break that down as fractions of a cent per ad. So if you're spending a seventh of a penny to skip an ad, you're like, okay, whatever, I can do that. Just a few packet, and
but even if it was $1, it wouldn't be a big.
It adds up to $1, because there's 5 ads in a block, so you're skipping 5 ads here and 5 ads there, and you can put it on auto skip, and then it's just kind of funding that. But yeah, at the end of the month, if you're watching 2 hours a day, it comes out to like $12. But that's great for you as a consumer, and then it's a great use case for your packet if you're and especially if you're supporting the network and you're earning $20 a month and you spend 7 of it on skipping ads, like that makes it just basically that free content.
Yeah, I personally love it. It's a clear utility for Packet. You can have kind of some really basic integration, and yeah, it would be awesome. I haven't thought about how to pull this off yet, but I just was thinking that it would be awesome to have Packet TV featured in the Base app, in their kind of everything app, that this is like where you can go watch content, and you get access to 100 channels and really cool brands.
Yeah, and base is like super hot right now. I mean, there's a lot of like really exciting kind of momentum in the crypto sphere around
Yeah.
base. And so figuring out a way to like tap into what they're doing. We should reach back out to our contact at base and just
Yeah, we should.
see if we can just like get on a call with them to talk about what we got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Josh and I have been gearing up to make a couple announcements. It's not quite there yet, but in the fall, which is around the corner, that there's definitely a few, I think great pieces of information that'll be relevant, public, information with some of these major celebrities that we're working with, major names in the entertainment industry that, people have been so freaked out and scared about crypto ever since the FTX crash, because a lot of people in the entertainment space got really hurt putting their name on crypto with that whole situation. Losing lots of money, getting sued. All those celebrities got like sued for promoting FTX, in commercials, Super Bowl ads. You got Tom Brady losing tens of millions of dollars in equity and investment values. So I think a lot of people for the last bunch of years have just been like, we don't want anything to do with crypto. And now that there's a lot more legitimacy coming into the market, certainly with, Bitcoin up 600% off the bottom. I think also a lot of legitimacy coming through with the regulations, percolating through American Congress. It's I think people are okay to dip their feet back in the crypto sphere, but in a very specific way. I think it's like looking at these like blue chip type situations, and that's why Coinbase is one of those blue chip situations. Clearly, it's also a blue chip company. I also saw, if I'm not mistaken, that if they're not, I don't think they're on the S&P 500 yet, but something about them potentially getting brought into the S&P 500, which would be huge. And yeah, so it's just, crypto's here. Crypto's here to stay at this point. So.
I also think that people got so spooked by what happened right after, Trump took office, that people are now like not taking as much risk with like meme coins, like projects that aren't just like XRP, Bitcoin, the ones that they know are not going to go to zero. And that's why I think Bitcoin has been going, like a perfect example, like people that I know that are like older, investors who absolutely just got wrecked. They're only putting their investments into Bitcoin. They're not even like messing with anything. And they're looking at it from a long-term standpoint. They're not looking at like day trading and trying to buy a meme coin and then, a month later look at it and it's, lost 80% of its value. Those traders are kind of just got absolutely wrecked. And so everybody's just like, all right, I'm going to stop messing around. I'm going to just put my money in Bitcoin or XRP or Ethereum or something like that and let it just sit there for the next, 10 years. And then they'll look back at 2025 and be like, oh, I'm glad I, made that investment, opposed to, like if you had bought XRP 3 years ago, today you'd be,
you bought XRP a
year ago. No, a year ago, before when it was in like
40 cents. Yeah.
40 cents, 30 cents. I mean, you're 100x or 10x.
Yeah, 10x.
Yeah, you're 10x. Anyway, you get drift.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think that's kind of the whole nature of this, like, blue chip conversation. I think people are just looking for things that have a little bit more substantiation. And even I would say 90% of the projects, 95% of the projects in the top 100 don't have a clear, use case or utility that anyone gives a shit about. you know, from a public standpoint. They could be like great projects, but anything in the top 100 is a great project, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's, you know, most of them are just names that people have never heard of, which is surprising because it's like you have $1 billion market cap or hundreds of millions of dollars market cap, and you haven't figured how to get like just general public awareness for your project. It's weird, but yeah, these projects just like I could clearly haven't broken through with like a utility that you know, that the general public is connected to. They'll recognize some of these brands. I've even seen brands like Tezos sponsoring F1 cars, and I've owned Tezos for 5 years or something,
And
I still don't
VeChain.
know what it does.
VeChain sponsors the UFC.
Yeah, VeChain. It's like no one can tell you what VeChain does.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just
I
crazy.
think that, you know, I had heard this this crypto influencer, I mean, take it for what it is, but he was saying that after the halving, it's about 8 to 18 months. The bull run lasts about 18 months after the halving. And so the halving was in April. So we're basically around 16 months right now. But because Bitcoin hit all-time high before the halving, they're saying that it's a unique bull run, and that in reality we're at like 18, 19 months. So they're like, this influencer was like, I'm already starting to pull my profits at this all-time high. Like she was saying it could boost up, you know, do a parabolic move, which, you know, we've seen it just go nuts over the last 2 weeks, week and a half. It could do another big leg up over leading into October. We know that historically around October, you know, the first week of October is really when, you know, things can get a little, you know, rocky, and by Thanksgiving is really when things do a turnaround. But yeah, it's something to keep in mind if you're if you're one of those investors. Make sure you know, take some profits. I saw a funny meme. Did you see that meme that I sent?
Yeah.
The one where it's Princess Leia, and she's like, or is it Princess Leia?
Yeah,
I forget. Yeah, she's like, "Are you gonna take profits again? Oh, crypto's running. Are you gonna take profits?"
Crypto's at all-time high. Are you taking profits? Wait, you're taking profits, right? It's like,
just don't get caught with your hand in the cookie jar again, dude.
Yeah, it's a tough one because you know, whenever things are pumping, your first instinct is like you just think it's going to go forever, and then if you scale out too early, you know, and it goes parabolic, then you missed a lot of value. But if you get caught holding the bag for a 2-year bear market, you're just gonna be kicking yourself that you never sold, and then you have to wait for it to come back. There's another funny meme where some guy waking up out of a coffin, and it was like, and the caption said, people who bought Ethereum at $4,000.
Oh my God.
Like sitting up, just like, wait, are we back? But yeah, I actually bought one Ethereum at $4,000 because I thought it was gonna break that level, and it did. It broke it, and it was a fake out. I have one ETH at 4,000. It's like cool. But yeah, I remember drawing this line. It said, like, I said to myself, if it breaks this level, just load up and just go for the run. And
it broke it, and then
just literally it just tapped a new all-time high, and just, or not. I don't think it was an all-time high. I think it didn't even get to the all-time, or maybe it did. I haven't looked at Ethereum chart in a minute, but whatever. It got up there, got into the 4,000s, and then just said, bye. Have a nice time with your $4,000 ETH. And now we tap back at a 3,800. So, you know, look, ETH's going to break at some point, and we're going to get a run. Are we going to get an $8,000 ETH?
$10,000 ETH?
At some point, for sure. I don't know when.
Do you think so? I'm actually excited for this bull run to be over, just because it's been so like rocky and weird, and like it's just so different than the other bull runs that I've been around for. And I'm just ready for everything to come back to life, or not life, but back down to like the low levels, and see everything crash and get freaking nasty for like the next run.
That happened. That happened on Liberation Day, right? So Trump announced,
but I wasn't prepared for it. I was thinking it was going that. I was
never going to be prepared for a bear market, dude.
Well, no, I mean, look, during the bear market, it's just, you load up, and then you don't do stupid moves, selling your crypto or you don't get caught holding your crypto and you sell it and panic sell. I mean, I just feel like every bull run you learn so much about how to do it right.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to get another opportunity to do it if there is one.
It's a tough one because, there's so much psychology that goes into trading, because people are very emotional about money. And that's just natural. And like the first thing they teach you when learning how to trade, for people are like, oh, I want to learn how to trade, not just for crypto, but for stocks, equities, whatever, is to figure out how to manage your emotions, because that's your first, that your emotions are going to make you make bad decisions. And those emotions work on the way up and on the way down. So for example, there's another funny meme. It's like taking screenshots of your portfolio instead of taking profits, right? You're just like, oh my God, I'm rich. And then all of a sudden it turns around. And now you're like, oh my God, I should have sold. And you beat yourself up about it. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes into trading. If you can remove the emotion from trading, that's step one, which is hard to do,
right.
And especially when people have like overextended themselves into a trade, or, too much into a freaking meme coin or something like that, not diversifying their portfolios, right? But the other piece of it is that when the markets are going down, especially when they're like free falling, then you make irrational decisions. And so like, for example, panic selling when something's going down, or panic buying when something's going up, right? So those are just like telltales of allowing your emotions to impact you. You also can get screwed over and be like, hey, this is going down, I'm just going to exit here and I'll rebuy it, and then the market turns around. That
it'll turn around, but it'll always come back. That's the thing. Like,
you always, you just have to be patient.
Some level,
right? You just have to be patient with your bad decision, and the same thing can happen on the upswing, where it's like, you start selling, you sell all your Bitcoin at 120,000, and then it rips to 140,000.
It's like that. Oh, it's like the Drake meme, Bitcoin at 60,000, Bitcoin at 120.
Yeah.
You've seen the video meme with the guy watching the price of some shit coin going up and up and up and up, and then he's like, okay, bye, and the thing goes through the internet, and the phone call to that French meme oligarch guy was like, dump it, and price to zero.
Ponky, if you are not following the Ponky Instagram, you're blowing it. Ponky has the absolute best memes in the game, hands down. And not only are they like the best, but they're the most consistent. Like, they've just never stopped making fantastic memes. And yeah, it's basically like the whole storyline of Ponky is like this dumb monkey who just like makes the worst trading decisions ever, and the best trading.
He's a degenerate trader.
He's a degenerate gambler, and he's just gambling his money constantly. But like, also that gambling gets him rich and poor and rich and poor, and he's there's times when he's like breaking his computer, and then there's times when he's flying around in private jets, but it's just great. You know, he's the epitome of like what the average crypto trader is, you know, is doing, just gambling on meme coins and shit like that. But yeah.
Does anybody actually make money day trading? I mean, I've talked to people
Love this
who
conversation.
supposedly made money. I mean, well, no, I talked to people who didn't really have another job, but those people, what they told me was that it's really you earn your income every day. You just click,
Yeah.
click, 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 and you're making a regular income just like anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you make a lot of money, but then you lose a lot of money at the end of the year. It's just a regular income. And so it's like, is there anybody actually making that much as day
There's
trading?
people making a lot of money. Here's what I would say is this. Just like any job, if you treat trading like a job, and you have a certain level of discipline, and when I say discipline, you're like looking at you have a trading system and the way that you do things, and you're really on it, I think you can make money. That said, there's a lot of things you need to also do to mitigate risk. And I mean, I remember that, I'll never forget, because I was in some like heavy leverage positions. And you know, the thing about crypto is that this market is highly manipulated by the market makers and the exchanges. And so I really, you know, around the Trump election, got to see that we're like there's like a funny analogy that just came to my mind. Like, imagine that you're in like a swimming pool that someone just set up in your backyard. It's like kind of the fish tank kind of syndrome, right? Where you're like in a fish tank and you have your ecosystem and everything seems like really great and peaceful, and then someone just like knocks the fish tank off the sink and shatters it on the ground, and now you're dying on the floor as a fish, you know? Or like the swimming pool in the backyard that like you seem like you have an ecosystem, you're a little tadpole swimming around in there, and then all of a sudden they deflate the swimming pool. Like with crypto, you're at the mercy of people who can move markets. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin just went, I mean, just wrap your mind around it for a second, about Bitcoin going from 105,000 to 123,000. Like, how much capital had to come into the market? And let's say you had 1,000 Bitcoins. That's a lot of Bitcoins. That's $100 million Bitcoin. But, and then your money goes up that much. How many millions of Bitcoins are out there that all went up in value? Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of value. So it's like, you're just no matter how much Bitcoin you have, unless you're like Michael Saylor, you're just a small fish in the pond. And there's players like the Binance exchanges, the big Coinbase exchanges. These guys can just like move chips into the table and flush the market or move the market, just, you know, with a snap of their fingers. So the reason I bring that up is because if you're like, oh, I'm a, you know, professional trader, you're literally just like swimming in a rushing river and making like decisions. Like, you don't control the river. You just have to be making decisions based on things that are happening in that exact moment. And I watched this one day where the market got absolutely flushed. One of the most insane wipeouts maybe in the history of crypto. I mean, I forget the exact numbers, but we're talking about, you know, billions and billions of liquidations. And I remember Carl the Moon, he had about $3 million in open positions, maybe more, but it was like, well, at least $3 million in open positions. He went to sleep and he woke up, and you can actually watch, if you go onto his YouTube, you can find this video. It's the most insane video he's ever posted. It's like a 15 to 20 minute video where he films himself and he could not talk. He could not talk. And I would say Carl is probably one of the best traders in the world. I watch this guy on a daily basis make hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's got probably well over $100 million in crypto gains. He's just balled out. And you could be like, this guy's full of shit. What I've seen is that he collateralizes his entire portfolio with leverage trading. And it's funny, it's kind of fucked up because like I tried to follow his trading really, really to a T, because you're like, dude, this guy's making 10, 20,000, 50,000, $100,000 a day. Like, it's insane. So like I could do that. And I started following his trades, and the volatility of the market, it's like you can't stay in the trade because like, and I'm just like, how does this guy have all these open positions and not get liquidated? The reason that he can maintain those open positions, because he's got his entire portfolio collateralized. It's like you can do isolated trades, or you can do cross collateralization of your portfolio. So like, let's say you have $1 million worth of crypto in your portfolio. You can open up a bunch of positions that are $15,000, $20,000 with 10x leverage. And if they drop 10% on 10x leverage, you would get liquidated. But if your whole portfolio is collateralized and you have $1 million in there, you're not going to get liquidated. It will start eating away at your collateral. And eventually that market most likely will swing back up, because 10, 20%, volatility in crypto is like a daily thing. The average person, like me, I jump in 10x leverage and I put $1,000 in there, and I go to lunch and come back and I lost $1,000. And I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? And all of a sudden the chart's up from it. I should be in profits. And it's like, no, they'll just do these liquidation wicks, and the exchanges do this every single day just to wipe out amateur traders, right? But someone like Carl, they can't wipe him out because he's got so much collateral sitting there that 10% wick, even though that would wipe out 99% of other traders, it's not going to wipe out someone with $1 million in collateral. And so that's why Carl's constantly making money, but his followers are constantly losing money. It's actually
well, to be fair, let's be real fair. We were following and we were making,
no, I made tons of money. I made tons of money.
I'm just saying, like, this was a black swan event.
That was a black swan event.
But during a bull market, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to make money. You just got to be in a trade. But when the markets are volatile, then you kind of need to know what the hell you're doing.
No, you're right. And that's what I was going to say. It's like a black swan event happened, and and when the markets came back, you just have to be ready to, just pull your profits out, unless you have a lot of money to collateralize your trades. If you don't, then you have to be willing to be down tens of thousands of dollars.
True.
And not, shit your pants. So
obviously I would have a few questions about somebody who has like a YouTube and they're trading and saying that they're making 20,000 a day.
You're seeing it.
No. It's like for legitimate. Like, he's like showing you his portfolio live on the exchange. Like, he actually is showing you his portfolio is up. You know? And it's not. He's not lying, because I was watching the video where he's like, I'm entering the trade right here. Then the next day he's showing you how much money he makes. Then he's showing you him taking profits. And then this one day he turns on his video and his entire portfolio is empty. Like, all of the money is gone. And that's because that black swan event was the most vicious drop maybe in the history of crypto.
Right.
And he literally lost $3 million or more, and he was sitting there just like catatonic.
Yeah.
I felt it, because I looked at my portfolio and all of my trades were emptied out. Like, I had one trade left. I was like, wait, what trade is this? Why is this So
your
I'll be-
$12 was just
Yeah, I
wiped
was like,
clean.
what the fuck? I was like, where's all this? Where are all these trades? Like, I was just like, what the fuck? And I look at the market, I was like, oh, and it was just a fucking.
If
Just a
making this
quick
kind of
report.
money was real and it was reliable and
Yeah,
it
it's not.
didn't have, I mean, yeah, anybody can make that much money. It's just that all your money gets wiped out every so often. It's not
That's
really
it.
a
You just have to be
black swan,
prepared.
it's a
You just have to be prepared.
periodic.
Well, you had to have.
Yeah, but that means you're not going to make $20,000 a day. And I
No.
can kind of prove it too, because if there was that much money on the table, then like big investment banks would come in and make $20 billion a day
They do.
by just adding zeros to it.
They
And
do.
no, once there's enough money, so once there's enough investors that come into a trade, then the trade stops being worth anything because the market just evens out. So
Totally.
and this is why also good traders typically don't really want to tell you what they're doing, because they don't want you coming in and doing the exact same strategy and taking away from their alpha. So that's also why I'm very suspicious of YouTube traders, because and I've talked to people. I talked to people who did crypto, but mostly they did stocks, and it was just kind of accepted that I'll tell you how to read a chart. I'll tell you how to trade, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, because that's my thing. That's how I make my bread. And also it was just something that I felt like I learned from that. That was my experience that taught me that I don't want to trade, because the people who don't get wiped out by those kind of periodic wipeout events, they're not making that much. It's just a regular job.
No, you're 100%
because
right.
you spend like 99% of your effort just trying to cover yourself so that when that wipeout happens, it doesn't get you. And so at the end of the day, you're just picking up the pennies, because the big money, you can't touch that, because that's where you will get wiped out.
Yeah, well, the one thing I just wanted to say is that this particular trader, he's not talking about alpha. He's not talking about news things that are like, hey, I'm jumping into this shit coin, meme coin. He's looking at charts and looking at the formations that are being created and saying, this is what I'm doing. Enter at your own risk. Don't follow this isn't financial advice. This is just what I'm doing. And if you want to follow, go for it. If not, whatever. and he is extremely successful with his trades. I mean,
But the strategy is like, hey, watch me do this trade. I'm gonna go jump into this trade, and then you're gonna jump in after me, which is gonna make my trade more valuable.
Going to give
with anything, whether it's a shitcoin
that's what all these and that's what all these alpha groups, like you go on Telegram, they're 90% of them are scams. Like we got scammed by freaking some kook. And I mean, it's just the whole thing is like, hey, jump in. I'm gonna buy this token, and then I'm gonna tell everybody about it. They're gonna jump in, and it's gonna shoot the price up, and then I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna make all this money, and you guys are gonna get freaking wrecked.
Yeah, no, those traders
scheme though.
And those guys are all rich, but those guys are all scammers for sure.
They're all scammers.
All of them are scammers. I mean, I don't want to say, their names on the stream here, but like for sure, you'd be hard pressed. And look, scammer is a tough word. I think that it's like what they're doing is they could probably view it as a job. They have a huge platform. You can make money off of following their calls. That's for sure. You're just enter at your own risk and make sure you exit early type situation. If you try and stay in, there's a funny one. I was literally watching it last night. This guy on I forget if it's YouTube. I think he's a YouTuber. I found young guy, been super successful with meme coin trading, and he does calls but he's been very, very conservative. I think conservative would be a good word for what he's done. There was a trade that just went down over the last 2 weeks. I think it was called Dege coin, Dege coin. And so what they did is they put like the biggest position of the coin, they sent it to Trump's wallet. I think they minted it into Trump's wallet. And then they got all of these callers to go on and say, Trump's holding this coin. And then they put onto a website, July 20th, there's going to be a big announcement, July 20th. And so everybody starts and then what they were doing is they were going and paying all these top callers and say, hey, make 3 videos, about July 20th and that Trump is holding the coin. So all these guys are making the calls, all clearly got a bag, and all the public starts coming in and the fucking chart just goes like this, just starts going straight up vertical. And yeah, there was a 10, maybe even a 20x, 30x that was possible there. Obviously, you could have jumped in. I could have jumped in. I didn't, but you could have jumped in, you could put $1,000 in there, turn it into 10 grand, pretty easily. And if you look at that chart right now, like July 19th, everyone just fucking dumped that thing. And there's a bunch of people that were waiting around for July 20th holding the bag. What's going to happen? Is Trump going to make a big announcement? Are we going to all get rich? I'm going to be a millionaire overnight. And all of a sudden it's like the chart's completely wiped out. It was a complete scam. But all those callers. What's that?
The fell for it again award meme?
I know. So
it's
that is
like a guy with a blue ribbon and it says fell for it again. Yeah, it's like the merge of Trump and crypto and fell for it again award.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, look, that's the type of bullshit that happens. But here's the thing. You were like, can you make money in it? Those callers, all those guys driving Ferraris, have Pateks, have, Penthouse, like those guys are all balling out because they get paid to do that type of, kind of scammy stuff. And then, it's a bunch of traders who got caught into a social media promotion on TikTok or, Instagram or, X and get excited about it. And, they lost a couple $100, lost a couple $1,000, and a couple people probably lost 50 and $100,000. And then these guys, go off and buy a Louis bag, with their profits. So you can make money if you want to be conservative, step in and out of this scam BS that's happening all over the, the crypto sphere. The best strategy is just no leverage, buy blue chips, buy and hold, wait 10 years, see what happens. You'll probably get rich.
Buy LVMH.
Stock?
Louis Vuitton, something Hennessy, the company that owns Louis.
Right. What about it? Buy their stock?
Buy LVMH. So when these guys, these influencers make their money, they buy their Louis bag. That's coming back to you.
That's 100%
true. Actually make something.
Yeah, it says the guy's I think second or third richest guy in the world. So
he does all right for himself.
He does all right for himself. Frenchman. So
yep.
But that's look, that's crypto in a nutshell. The fact of the matter is you can make money doing almost anything. With the amount of money, what are we, over $4.2 trillion in the crypto market? This market's gonna go, look, I could say something silly like it's gonna go to 50 trillion. It's gonna go to 50 trillion. Now, how long that's gonna take to happen? Yeah, I think it's very realistic to see this market 10x. I love what Michael Saylor said. He's like, multi-billionaires are going to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin at some point, and you're going to see a massive supply shock. I believe Bitcoin will be over 1 million. Will it get to Saylor's target of 13 million a coin? Probably. I think probably we're going to get there. Now, could it take us 50 years? Yeah, probably take 50 years. But regardless, I think it's realistic to see that happen. And I say this often. I say that Bitcoin is, even at 100 grand, Bitcoin is our parents buying their first house in the 1970s, buying a house for 100 grand in the 1970s. And those houses are, worth $1 million. Some of them are worth $10 million now. if you bought a house where I live in Santa Barbara, I literally just saw a guy, almost been looking at real estate here. I found a house that a guy's renting for $22,000 a month. And I went back and looked, and in 2002, he bought the house for $1,050,000. He's renting it for 22 grand a month. I mean, name a better investment that's more safe than that. $1 million house in Montecito that's printing $250,000 and just basically pure cash flow every single year. His taxes are 10 grand a year. Bought that with cash.
About the housing market, because when the boomers start to die off, all those old houses are going to go to somebody, and I'm not sure that the market's going to support the amount of houses that are going to come online, especially in the U.S.
Sure. In the next 20 years, we'll see a dip. There will be a dip, and that inventory will get bought up. Look, these types of dips they don't last for long. Even like the crazy housing crash that happened in the United States in between 2006 and like 2012. It's like pretty much like a half decade that you could buy cheap houses. But if you swooped one of those houses, I mean, everything's up. I even got a front row seat to buy a house, and it's one of my big regrets. I didn't buy a house. I moved into a rental. Rental was $5,500 a month, and they were like, "You should just buy this house. It's 1.1 million." That house, I didn't buy it. The house, my mortgage would have been cheaper than my rent. So I don't even know why I didn't buy it. And they kept raising the rent $500 every single year. And eventually it was like $6,500 to live in this house. I was just like, I'm going to move out of it. But if I had bought that house is worth $2.4 million right now. Just between 2015 and 2025. So 10 years, it doubled in value.
I wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. housing market never goes down in dollar terms. But then the question is, what's the future of the dollar going to be worth?
Well, we lost 10%. The dollar lost 10% of its value in the last 6 months. Meanwhile, Bitcoin's up 20%.
Depending on how you measure, because like you can just take the dollar as against gold or something and say, my definition of value is gold, or
right.
You can take it against eggs, in which case there isn't much inflation, or you can take it against. But
I think the DXY is a good measure because it's a basket of assets.
Currencies. Yeah, but you can have a currency go down against other currencies because of foreign trade things.
Yeah.
But then nobody in the country really notices it because everything that they're buying is still fine. So it's very, very complicated, and it's different depending on where you are. Like the dollar buys you more if you're in Kansas than it does if you're in New York City.
Yeah. So gas in Texas, $2 a gallon for gas in Texas, and it's $6 a gallon for gas in California. But
value,
inflation's a weird one because I'll give you an example.
Measure.
What's that? Yeah. What is the measure? Yeah. Because, they say like, oh, inflation, I got Trump saying there's no inflation in America. We should be lowering interest rates. My health insurance has gone up by anywhere between 20 and 40% a year for the last 5 years. So it's like, that's inflation that I deal with every single day. Obviously credit card interest rates are near, are all-time high. Student debt interest rates are basically they've come down by like a couple basis points, but still all-time high. If you took out a loan, I'll give you an example. If you took out a student loan at a 4% interest rate 10 years ago, your loan right now is at 10 to 11% interest rate right now. So
variable interest is crazy in my opinion.
So that's most student loans were on variable interest rates. It's very difficult to get a fixed interest rate on these type of like very risky loans, but they're directly susceptible to interest rate, which are being used to tamp down borrowing and constrain inflation, and that's the result. Those are the people, the poor people, students, people who make under $150,000 or under $250,000 are the people who get hurt the most. And so you see that you like buying a house right now, very difficult to find a loan under 7%. If you are trying to buy a house, like let's say it's a $1 million house at 7% interest, that's a $7,000 a month payment. That same house you used to be able to buy for like 10 years ago for 500 grand at 2 or 3% interest.
Variable interest should be regulated as gambling because you're betting on the future.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be allowed. Should be considered a casino game and just
you're right.
disallowed from banks doing anything like that.
Well, that's what crashed the US market, was those variable interest loans. That's exactly what crashed the market, is people were able to get qualified for these low interest loans, and they didn't vet these individuals, just handing out variable interest loans, and all of a sudden you have an 11% interest.
Wasn't that the short squeeze?
I forget what
the Big Short, yeah,
Big
because
Short.
they were selling on the loans in the mortgage-backed securities, which is,
and then none of the borrowers, could pay their debt, and all of a sudden all that money went to junk status, and these guys had billions and billions of dollars on their balance sheet that were basically worthless.
Yeah.
And then when you recalibrate the value of your company, where you have to write off all of your assets, then the stock has no value, and everyone dumps the stock, and it's and then you basically are you're basically bankrupt stock.
What's something else that kind of breaks my mind is the fact that banks take deposits and then they lend them out, but then you can still claim those deposits while they're being lent out, and the difference is covered by printing money. And then at some point, the federal interest rate, like the 10-year treasury note, which is guaranteed, it's guaranteed money. It has zero risk rate of return, can go higher than the interest that you make at the bank account. And so everybody that has a brain on their shoulders pulls the money out of the bank and puts it in money markets to earn money off of Uncle Sam. Yeah. And then the bank is just guaranteed to be underwater. And it's like, how is that not a systemic risk? Because it's going to happen to all the banks at the same time, because there's one interest rate that's the non-zero rate of return. Zero risk rate of return. And so it's a guaranteed thing that's going to happen to all the banks. And so the only way that I can see that the government is dealing with this right now is just by guaranteeing all those banks and supporting them no matter what with money printer cash. And it just makes the economy basically fake, because it's no longer Alice puts money in the bank and then the bank lends it to Bob. Now it looks like that's what's happening, but actually Alice nobody puts money in the bank because it doesn't make any sense. And the bank lends money to Bob, but the government just printed it. And it's totally.
Well, here's the other one that just keep an eye on. And I just read about this. So with the Genius Act that just passed, which is this stablecoin act that I don't know if Trump just signed it into law, but I think he did. So what's happening is these stablecoin companies are being legitimized, and stablecoin technology. The banks are going to get into it, right? And so people are going to start putting their money into stablecoins, and then those companies take those stablecoins and they buy U.S. Treasuries with them, and to get like a steady yield. And so that's why things like that's why Circle IPO'd at $30. It's sitting I think over $200 now. Because this is and that was one of those great, just an incredible trade. You could have taken equities trade with a nice 7x return. But now you're going to see a lot of money flow into U.S. Treasuries. And I know that the Trump administration is looking at this and is specifically looking at getting into the stablecoin game, because you're going to get a lot of people to put your money in stables, and then you're just going to have a big old stockpile of cash. You put that money into treasuries at 4 or 5% yield, and it's just like free money. Also, that money's funding the government. Then they can do all this different stuff with that, with those funds. It's now you're using the US government to back crypto investing. and then people go and take those stable coins and go buy crypto with it, you know? So I don't know what the kind of existential threat to the US economy is with Trump using treasuries as a, you know, as a backing for crypto investing, but we need an economist to run the numbers.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Well, let's cut it short here, not short, but end it at an hour. We can go on for days and days talking about the US economy and how it ties into crypto, but we'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Appreciate everybody for joining in today. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Peace.